Am I the a-hole for not taking my husband to my brother-in-law's funeral after he went against my sister's wishes? My sister's husband was sick over 6 months, and past couple of months he got worse. They had 2 kids, nephew 4 and niece 6. I agreed to take the kids in to look after them and help my sister focus on her husband. A week ago, I got a call at 6:50 from my sister, crying telling me her husband just passed away. It was so devastating. I was still in bed when I got the news. I checked on the kids and they were asleep. I had to go see my sister and be with her. I asked my husband to keep an eye on the kids and warn him not to tell them about their father's passing till their mom get there, and tell them herself in her own way, since she made me promise to wait till she tell them herself. He nodded but said telling them the sooner the better. I told him it was none of his business and he needed to respect their mother's wish. He said I could go and he watched the kids. An hour later, my phone rang while I was in my sister, and it was my husband telling me to get home ASAP because the kids had a breakdown after he told them their father passed. I was dumbfounded and was so mad and helpless. I asked him why he told them but couldn't hear his reply because the kids were crying loudly in the background. Their mother heard and figured they found out. She told me to drive her to see them, but I apologized for my husband. I apologized for what my husband did, so she didn't respond. We got home and it was a mess. My heart sank seeing the kids crying for their dad like that. Their mom took them inside the room and shut the door. I lost it on my husband, and he said even made them breakfast, but when he heard the kids talk about what they were going to do when they see their dad soon, he felt the urge to tell them. I yelled at him for going against my sister's wishes. He apologized to my sister, but she said she doesn't want him to see him because the kids stopped talking from their trauma. He wanted to go to the funeral, but I told him my sister doesn't want to see him and I'm respecting her wish. He got upset saying I excluded him from the family event, which was unfair and flat out pretty. He said he couldn't help it, so I shouldn't told him accountable because it's just happened. But I felt ashamed and a major letdown of my sister because she stated her wishes and he didn't respect them.
NTA. I was babysitting for a family friend while they were at the hospital saying goodbye to their other child. I knew that their son had died. But I kept my mouth shut and loved on their daughter, who was talking about going to see her brother, until they got home because it was 100,000% not my place to say anything. Didn't even cross my mind to tell her, even though I had to leave the room a few times to wipe my eyes and regain composure. How awful. I'm sorry the family had to go through that, but glad you have 1,000 more sense than this guy has in his pinky nail. Oh my god, that's devastating. I'm actually crying reading this. I'm so sorry for yours and everyone's loss. They must trust you immensely for that. Exactly. Children that young are easily distracted as well. He really couldn't throw the TV on for a few hours until their mom came. Nah, he totally wanted to hurt those kids by telling them. I'm not usually one to jump to harsh conclusions on Reddit, but your husband will fully and knowingly traumatized young children. Then he couldn't deal with said traumatized children, so he called you to come home and handle the trauma he caused for him. That's major. That's genuinely cause for divorce. What else won't he be able to stop himself doing? I agree. And it is not that hard to keep children occupied. Your husband was insensitive. He didn't even think about the impact of his actions. He should have thought how will he handle the kids once they learned the truth. He just hurt the kids and back out when it was time to handle them. Huge asshole move by your husband. As a teenager, I was hanging with my aunt when she got a call that her friend's husband died by suicide. She then took me to the friend's house, which in hindsight I think is inappropriate. She should have dropped me off somewhere, and the kids were there playing. They had no idea their dad had just died. Was that difficult to watch? Yes. Did it send me into a philosophical spiral about death? Yes. Did I think to tell them? Yes. I agree, but he's been giving me grief about how harsh I was towards him and that I should have let him attend the funeral with me, completely ignoring the fact he went against my sister's wishes and she rightfully wants some space from him. Why is he talking about a funeral being a family event like it's a freaking party? He couldn't keep his mouth shut and traumatized two young kids. The news was never going to be easy for them, but it should have come from their mom. He didn't take responsibility for himself and doesn't seem to have any remorse. You are protecting your sister and her kids from further trauma by someone who is at very best clueless and at worst cruel. NTA, and your husband should be ashamed of himself. Telling the kids against Syl's wishes was all about him and him just not being able to help it. Bill's funeral is all about him and being included in a family event he isn't wanted at. He didn't even really apologize, saying I couldn't help it negates the apology. Him doing this plus his insisting to go to a funeral he is not welcome at would seriously damage my marriage if this was me. Zero accountability, remorse, contrition, making it all about himself. I don't say this lightly, this is a divorceable offense, in my opinion. I would not be able to tolerate the sight of my husband knowing what he did to those innocent children, giving them the worst news imaginable without a second thought to them not being with their mother at the time. Wow. NTA, op. I shouldn't hold him accountable because it just happened. No. He did it. It didn't just happen alone, he did it. What an isole, he can't even own his actions. And for him to be creating more drama in a moment like this disgusting. I hope he realizes how bad he screwed it and work to earn your sister forgiveness. The line that gets me is him saying I couldn't help it. What? Did the kids hold him at gunpoint to force his confession? Op's husband either has extreme impulse control issues, is a huge narcissist, or a gigantic ass who enjoys making other people miserable. Any way you spin this, the husband needs to take a seat and should probably get in therapy to find out how to fix his terrible personality.